Did you know there's a world-class snooker player who can't tell the difference between red and brown balls? Meet Mark Allen, the Northern Ireland star who's ranked world number 10 despite being partially colourblind. That's right, in a game where precision and colour recognition are everything, Allen has made it to the very top while struggling to see what he's aiming at. The hilarity reached peak levels when Allen was commentating for the BBC alongside Stephen Hendry. While watching Ronnie O'Sullivan play, Allen suddenly burst out laughing because he completely mistook a blue ball for a brown one, admitting his colourblindness was kicking in and he genuinely couldn't tell which ball was which. But here's the crazy part. Allen doesn't let this stop him. When he's unsure about a ball's colour during matches, he simply asks the referee for help. He treats having a major sensory disadvantage in a precision sport like it's no big deal at all. He even famously knocked out Ronnie O'Sullivan from the 2009 World Championship, proving that sometimes you don't need perfect vision, just perfect skill. Speaking of Ronnie O'Sullivan, let's hear how he learned his craft while his family was behind bars. Ronnie O'Sullivan is widely considered the greatest snooker player ever, but his path to greatness was paved with family tragedy and personal demons. When Ronnie was just breaking into professional snooker, his world collapsed. In 1992, his father was sentenced to life in prison for murder, spending 18 years behind bars. O'Sullivan later revealed that his father was a massive driving force behind his career, and losing that support was devastating. But the nightmare wasn't over. His mother was also sent to prison in 1996 for tax evasion, leaving teenage Ronnie completely alone during the most crucial years of his career. Instead of focusing on snooker, Ronnie spiraled into addiction. He admitted to going wild for 6 years with booze and cannabis, ordering enough McDonald's to feed an entire prison wing and ballooning from 11 stone to 16 stone. His snooker waistcoats straining at the seams. Yet somehow, through all this chaos, he still managed to win his first ranking title, the 1993 UK Championship, just a week before his 18th birthday, and there he became the youngest ever ranking champion. And now prepare yourself for the tale of an Australian who went from serving drinks to world champion. Before Neil Robertson became world champion, he was standing in unemployment lines in Melbourne, watching desperate people get denied their welfare checks. After a failed first attempt at making it as a pro in England, Robertson returned to Australia, broke and hopeless. He was questioning whether this was his destiny, wondering if he'd ever make it. He ended up working as a busboy in a Melbourne pub, becoming expert at carrying towers of glasses up his arms while collecting dropped money from drunk customers. Robertson lived in a house in the middle of a car park on an industrial estate where curious drivers would peer through the windows, wondering if people actually lived there. But this rock-bottom experience gave him perspective and hunger. Robertson became only the second non-UK or Irish player to win the World Championship. His journey from unemployment queues to snooker's summit proves that sometimes you need to lose everything to find out what you're truly capable of achieving. In comparison to Robertson, Ty Pitchett swapped meditation robes for a snooker cue. Before he was potting balls under bright TV lights, Ty Pitchett was waking up at dawn, shaving his head, and chanting in orange robes as a Buddhist monk in Thailand. No parties, no late nights, no trick shots, just peace, meditation, and spiritual discipline. Then he ditched the monastery and picked up a snooker cue. Not only did he switch lifestyles, he absolutely thrived. In 1993, he won the IBSF World Amateur Championship, which is basically the Olympics of amateur snooker. That alone would be incredible, but then he casually rolled into the Thailand Open as a wildcard and beat Stephen Hendry. This wasn't just a lucky shot either. Pitchett made it all the way to the semi-finals like it was nothing. While Pitchett found peace before finding snooker, Saleh Mohammed's journey began in the chaos of war and refugee camps. Before he was chasing century breaks, Saleh Mohammed was fleeing for his life. Born in war-torn Afghanistan in 1973, his family became refugees when he was just a child, spending years in refugee camps across Pakistan. No fancy training facilities, no professional coaches, just a kid with impossible dreams in the face of unimaginable hardship. In 1988, while still technically a refugee, Saleh began representing Pakistan internationally. By 1995, against all odds, he secured a professional tour card. An Afghan-born refugee who taught himself snooker in camps, battling poverty and uncertainty, suddenly became a professional on the world circuit. But Saleh's journey didn't stop at just participating. In 2003, he powered through 14 straight matches to reach the final of the IBSF World Championship, walking the same tables that legends built their reputations on. He also claimed medals at the 2002 Asian Games, including a bronze in the team event. Eventually, he returned to Afghanistan to help build snooker in his homeland, representing his birth nation in 2012 and inspiring an entire generation. Mohammed overcame youth in war zones, but age presents its own battles when you're half blind and still beating players half your age. Mark Williams is not only a snooker player anymore, he's a walking miracle. At 50 years old, half blind by his own admission, he's still turning professional snooker into his personal playground. In a sport where perfect vision and laser focus are everything, Williams is out here squinting at the table, complaining about not being able to see the balls properly, then proceeds to knock in century breaks. In the 2025 World Championship, Williams faced world number 1 Judd Trump, a man in his absolute prime with lightning reflexes. Williams destroyed him from 7-3 behind, flipping the match completely and winning 17-14. He reached the final, becoming the oldest player to do so since 1982. The comeback was sealed with a century break that felt like a mic drop from someone who's been playing longer than his opponents. But here's the interesting part. In December 2022, Williams made a maximum 147 break at age 47 years and 270 days, the oldest anyone has ever done it professionally. Some players spend entire careers chasing a 147. Williams is doing it while probably needing reading glasses. Williams brought fighting spirit to snooker from day one, but that's nothing compared to the player who is remembered not for what he won. Yes, we're talking about Jimmy White. He's arguably the most beloved snooker player who never won the World Championship, making his story both inspiring and heartbreaking. Known as the Whirlwind for his blistering clearances and attacking style, White captivated millions with his natural talent and rebellious charm. White enjoyed massive success throughout his career, winning the Masters in 1984 and the UK Championship in 1992. He was consistently ranked in the top 2 during his prime and famously made the second ever maximum 147 break at the Crucible in 1992. But here's what makes his story unbelievable. Between 1984 and 1994, Jimmy White reached 6 World Championship finals, including 5 consecutive ones from 1990 to 1994. 6 finals, and he lost every single one. 4 of those heartbreaking defeats came against Stephen Hendry, often in agonizingly close matches. The most painful was 1994, where White led 14-12 and seemed destined for victory before Hendry staged an incredible comeback to win 18-17. White's heartbreak came from starting his professional career too early, but imagine starting your World Championship journey at 35 after years in the mines. When you think of a 6-time world champion, you probably imagine someone who dedicated their entire youth to snooker. But Ray Reardon's path to greatness began deep underground in a Welsh coal mine, making his story absolutely unbelievable. Born in 1932 in South Wales, Reardon followed his father into the brutal world of coal mining. He spent years working in dark, cramped, and dangerous conditions, a million miles away from the refined world of professional snooker. This background gave him extraordinary mental toughness and a work ethic that would serve him incredibly well later. Here's the crazy part. Reardon didn't turn professional until he was 35 years old, in 1967. Most top players had already established themselves by that age. But his Dracula nickname, earned from his slicked-back hair and intense stare, perfectly captured his formidable presence at the table. Reardon's rise in the 1970s was phenomenal. He won his first World Championship in 1970 and claimed the title 6 times between 1970 and 1978, dominating that entire decade. But that's nothing compared to the player who battled for his own life. Alistair Carter's snooker career reads like a medical textbook, but somehow he's still competing with the world's best. While most athletes battle injuries, Carter has fought a relentless war against not one, but 2 life-threatening conditions, making his presence at snooker's top level absolutely miraculous. Carter's health nightmare began in 2003 with a Crohn's disease diagnosis, a chronic inflammatory bowel condition causing debilitating pain and fatigue. Managing this unpredictable condition while maintaining peak performance would challenge anyone, but Carter kept competing with remarkable determination. Then came the real horror show. In 2013, Carter was diagnosed with testicular cancer. He underwent surgery and treatment, courageously returning to competition later that year. But in 2014, the cancer returned as lung cancer, requiring extensive chemotherapy. The physical and emotional toll of battling cancer twice while managing a chronic condition would force most people into retirement. But Carter defied these impossible odds. Not only did he survive, he returned to professional snooker with unshakable resolve. He reached 2 World Championship finals in 2008 and 2012, both times losing to Ronnie O'Sullivan. But reaching those finals after such traumatic medical battles speaks volumes about his mental strength. And that's a wrap for today's video. Drop your thoughts in the comments and click the screen below for more snooker content.